For those of you who don't know me, and it's my pleasure to take you through the weekend festivities. And first up, it will be my pleasure to ask the club president, our club president, Mr. Bill Williams, to come forward and make the opening remarks.
Can't see a thing. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all I welcome you very cordially back to your club, with a special welcome to members who have travelled a long way. I also welcome all representatives of clubs from in and around Dunedin. It's certainly good to see you all here to help us start off our weekend celebration. The Centennial Committee have spared no expense to set up this weekend, so now it's up to you all to enjoy yourselves and make the whole weekend a success. Naturally, I am very proud to be your president this centennial year, and I guess as you all look around our complex, you will see a lot of changes since the years that you played. But I think you'll all agree that we certainly have now something to be very, very proud of. Although we're 100 years old, the real growth of the club has taken place over the last 25 years, which I think is indicative of the growth of the Green Island district and also the spirit of that district. And when you think 100 years ago, we fielded one team, and the highlight of that year was a trip to Lawrence, which we lost. Hey? I can't remember it actually, I read about it. Now we managed to field 19 teams on a Saturday from schoolboy to senior grade. I believe all this growth must augur well for the next 100 years. There's no doubt, as you reminisce, there'll be plenty of games replayed, and many incidents, for good or for better or for worse, should I say, recalled, and many friendships renewed. And I think that's what Centennials are all about. I certainly would like to thank our senior team for coming along. It's certainly good to see you all here and spending some time with us. And I'm sure we all wish you well in your game tomorrow. Once again, I welcome you all and wish you very, very well for the weekend. Thank you.
We did decide to ask two people if they wouldn't mind sharing their reminiscences and experiences with us. And there were two who agreed. One gentleman, or the first gentleman we've asked to speak, is from a very well-known Green Island family, John Bizet.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, I've been asked to speak briefly on my era, which went from 1962 through until 1973, when we won the championship. Got no place to put my glass around here. I might as well drink it. I've been asked to speak for about 10 minutes, and that's all I intend to do. So I'll take you through right from my first year was in 1962, and the coach in those years was a very young Bert Harvey. The captain was Keith Adams, and I'll just run through the team as it was in 62. We had Neville Pringle was the president in those days. Bert, as I said, was the coach. We had Gavin Wright, Graham Nind, Keith Shields, Jimmy Smith, Lindsay Moyle over the back there in his togs. He's still got his jersey, old Lindsay. Mickey Bates, Huey McEwen, Les Larson, Kevin Williams, Barry Barnes, Ian Lamb, Morton Popper, I hardly recognise Morton there, Iron Brown, Ron Goff, Keith Adams, myself, and Ken Barnes. Now bear Ken in mind because he comes up later on in the story. In 1962, that was, as I say, my first year. We were in the Senior B competition, and in that year we won, we were third. I'm getting carried away with winning. We were third in the Otago Rugby Football Union Senior B competition. In 1963, we were runners-up in the Senior B, but we were really a club that was struggling. I suppose in some ways we're like the Port Chalmers clubs is today. We were losing a lot of games. We were losing players to other clubs. We had probably, if all the players that lived in the Green Island era were playing for Green Island, we had had a very good senior side. There was 2 or 3 that come to mind that were playing over the hill at Southern and Otago reps, and we always felt that we were a bit behind the 8 ball and we were struggling. I don't think Jimmy Smith is here tonight, so I can honestly say we didn't have a goal kicker. And as I say, we're a bit like Port Chalmers. We come very close on a number of occasions, but we just didn't quite make it. This is no reflection on Bert's coaching. He did his best, but we're a pretty young bunch and lacking in confidence. We were also pretty low-key as far as our training was concerned. The boys used to go down to the pub after the training sessions, and we didn't train to the extent that a lot of you guys do today. We just weren't that serious. It was good comradeship, we enjoyed each other's company, but that's really about as far as it went. I'll mention one game in Bert's era that we were all very proud of, and I'm sure Bert was himself, and that was the time we played Varsity A. The competitions changed a lot in those days. The rugby union seemed to be in 2 minds as to what they were going to do, and sometimes one year we had 16 teams in the competition, split up into 2 sets of 8, and then we'd have 12, and then we'd be back to Senior A, Senior B, and that sort of thing. But one year we went up to Senior A, and we played Varsity A down at the University Oval. And that side was full of Otago reps and a couple of All Blacks. They had likes of Chris Laidlaw and Earl Curtin and the Bassett boys and Graham Poland. And they were a really classy side. And it was the side that a lot of the old boys look back on these days. Richard Hyam will know what I'm talking about. And we didn't actually beat them, Kearney, but we scored 17 points against them. I won't tell you what they scored against us. But that was a moral victory, and probably the first time that we really thought that we had a chance of doing something, that this club really could go somewhere. I'm not sure if it was after that game or it was one of the varsity games. I got a bit involved with Ray Vibert, as a matter of fact, and we're invited to a student party. And we had a few beers, of course, and about 8 or 9, Ray and I wandered along to this party. I think Jack Aiken might have been involved in this too. However, we ended up at this party, and it was one of these parties, we're just greenhorns from over the hill, and there was a party where they had, you had to get the body paint on. The psychedelic paint was in these days. And so we wandered up, and there was a couple of birds at the door and said, "Oh, boys got to get painted up." So we stripped off the shirts and what have you. And we got painted up and went in with like a couple of abos on a corroboree and sort of wandered around. And as the night went on, we lost a bit more of our gear and we got really painted up. And must have got home about 4 or 5 in the morning, I suppose. And the first thing I remember was my wife waking up screaming beside me. Ray, if any of you know Sandra, wasn't quite so lucky. I don't think she's ever forgiven him for coming home with his old man painted a psychedelic green. But going on to about the 63, 64 era, The second coach I had was Father Joe Kearney. And Joe came out here as a Catholic priest in Green Island for a number of years, and a fitness fanatic and a very, very passionate person, insomuch as he certainly didn't like being beaten, and for a Roman Catholic priest he had an unusual attitude towards his fellow man. For example, in his early days as a coach, we arrived over here probably in February or March or something. It's not like you guys doing today where you'd train all through the season. We'd just turn up with our jimmies, and first thing Joe said to us, right, it's an 80-minute game, we're going to be fit this year, so we'll have a training run to Mosgiel. So we literally run over to Mosgiel and back that night. And later on in the season, he would have training runs of 80 and 90 minutes of sprints to the 25 and back to the halfway and back and that sort of thing, and he would run right alongside us all the way. So we were extremely fit. I say that he's a passionate man. I'll just give you an example of one of his team talks. He'd get us in the training shed and he'd sort of stomp back and not say much, and then very slowly he'd say, "Are you going to take second best? Are you going to take second best?" And this is a Roman Catholic preach, you guys. Praise. And of course we'd be sitting there quivering, and he'd say, "I want to see the blood on their backs." And of course, you know, we had guys on our side like Sir Ray Vibert and Murray Mackey and Jack Aiken. These guys didn't need this sort of encouragement. And you know, we'd go out onto the field in a frenzy. And I can recall talking to Brian Essel, who had actually played against us for Varsity B, and he actually came out here and played for the Green Island Club a few years later. And he said to me one day that, you know, that was the first experience he ever had of playing against Green Island. He just couldn't believe it. He said he honestly feared for his life. He said when you go down the ball, it was just like a pitter-patter of tags coming towards him and feet right over the top. And so that was Joe Kearney, very passionate. And it was probably about those times when we started winning a few games. We were always getting beaten by Tyree. Dunedin had a run of about 9 or 10 years where we didn't win a game against them. And I suppose we're in a situation where we were somewhat despondent. Although we always felt ourselves that we were improving, we really weren't going anywhere at all. The next coach on the scene about the 1967, 66, 67, was Jack Calder. The captain at the time was Hugh McEwen, and just some of the players in that team was some of the younger players coming through, and I see Brucey Milne was down here, he was in that team, John Driver, Donald McEwen, Hedge Bazette, Les Smale, very young Mervyn Jaffray, and David Laws. Now these guys were just starting to come into our side at that stage, and we were starting to improve a little bit. We also had in the side Lindsay Moyle still playing. Lindsay never ever counted the tight hairs, he just counted the kneecaps. In fact, I can tell you a story about Lindsay. It's always embarrassed me, but I think that I'm big enough now to take this. But in our early days, we used to go down to Invercargill, and we had something of a liaison with the Invercargill side, collegiate it was. Anyway, this night, the collegiate club always used to do it right. They'd arrange for some of the nurses from the Kew Hospital to come over and entertain us. Anyway, this night after the game there, I was at the bar with an attractive young nurse, doing my best, and I seemed to be doing all right. And I was going well for a couple of hours, and then later on the night, this little curly-headed Lindsay Moyle comes up, fairly full, and he muscles his way in, and he turns to this bird and he says, "This guy's got the biggest cruiser in Green Island." And well, you know, my face still reddens when I see the expression that crossed this young virginal nurse from the Kew Hospital. I'm sure she still wakes up at nights with nightmares thinking of Lindsay Moyle. But getting back to Jack Calder, Jack introduced a more scientific approach to the game. We started to sort of think about our game in those days, and we really were improving. As our president said earlier on, the population of Green Island was starting to grow. This is around the 66 through to 68 years. We were getting some junior sides that were coming through, and very good junior sides. And also our administration was improving. Some of the players that have been in the early sides had stuck with the club and were coming through and making a really good job of getting this club on its feet. We've put down a new clubhouse. This is the predecessor to this one here, and we're all very proud of that, and it was a real community spirit. And through until 1969, when Gordon Webb arrived on the scene. Now Gordon introduced into this club a touch of professionalism, I suppose. He'd come down from Hamilton or somewhere, and for the first time we really started believing that we could really go somewhere. We didn't ever think that we would win a competition, but Gordon managed, and I'll always give him credit for this. He had a personality clash with one or two of the members of the club, but top marks as far as his coaching was concerned. He introduced into this club a belief that we could really win and beat some of these sides that we've been playing against for years, likes of Southern and Vasta and these teams. We never for a moment thought that we could beat them, probably until the late 60s and early 70s. And in 1969 we finally got rid of Lindsay Moyle. He was a selector in those days. Huey was our captain. And we won the Senior B competition in that year, and we were really looking really starting to look like we're getting somewhere. In 1970, we won our way up to the seniors, although once again the Otago Rugby Union had changed the competition around. We had in fact won our way through quite legitimately, playing promotion relegation the year before, where we had Senior B, Senior A. But in 1970 they changed the competition around and they had the 12 teams as we know it is today. And so we played that year in the senior competition, and we won the President's Trophy, which was the top side in the first 6 games, I think it was. By this time we'd had quite a good following in the island, because we were really starting to play good rugby. We were an exciting brand of rugby. We were a type of rugby that hadn't been seen around the Otago area for a long time. People were starting to compare us with that earlier Varsity A side that I mentioned. We had a real talent in the side, and we started beating sides that had previously beaten us. We stopped the run of Dunedin, who had been beaten us 9 or 10 years in a row. We won for the first time the Griffin Memorial. We were all invited up to Mrs. Griffin's place, where she showed us a good time with in the drink, that is. And we were starting to win against some sides by 30 and 40 points. We'd beaten Tyree and Alhambra. All these clubs had beaten us over the years. Pirates, these sort of sides are around about the middle. We were starting to win against these sides. And also about that time, significantly, the club had sent a junior side to Australia, and some of those younger guys had coming through. They'd had the confidence of playing in the under-20 grade, and they were coming through into the senior side. The likes of Brian Down, Les Patrick, and Barry Simpson, I see here tonight, and Bob Clark. By the time 1972-73 come around, we had a combination of experience and youth in our side. And in that 1972 season, we scored something 385 points, which must go as close to a record for this club. 1973, Jack McLaughlin appeared on the scene. He had been previously assistant coach to Gordon Webb. We'd used Jack's famous defensive pattern, which certainly helped us in those early days too. But Jack came in as a coach in 1973 in his own right. And I look back on that year in particular. It was Jack McLaughlin I look on as the Kavanagh Southern liaison, Jack McLaughlin, in my mind, fits in with the same sort of situation that we have here in Green Island. It was a rare combination of football brains, and fortunately he had the talent to develop on. And there would be a lot of people that said over the times that he was fortunate in so much as he had talent. Well, he certainly was, but at the same time he developed that talent. He gave a lot of those players individual coaching, and this club certainly owes a lot to Jack McLaughlin. And the reason I leave Ken out is because Ken, along with myself, is the only survivor from that 1962 team, and I don't know how Ken feels about it, but I'm very proud to have played for Green Island during that era, because I think it's one is really outstanding in our history. Until we won the senior banner, 4 years in the senior A, and we scored 330 points in the 1973 year. And I'll just read briefly a headline from the newspapers after we won that banner in 1973. Amid scenes of wild rugby fervour, Green Island carried off the senior championship at Carisbrook today for the first time in the club's history. Carisbrook's biggest crowd, I need a drink. Carisbrook's biggest crowd of the club season saw Green Island draw 12-all with Varsity A and finish a point clear on the championship table. Hundreds of excited Green Island supporters gave their side a rousing reception as they left the field to be presented with the trophy. And that's what it was like. It was fantastic. We had bus loads of people would go and see us, and it wasn't only Green Island people, they're coming from all over the place to watch us play rugby in those days. And I look back on it, and it just is, you know, some of the best times that I've ever had. I'm going to finish now, but before I do so, I would just like to say, in the opportunity that I've had to speak here tonight, of course, I was only given 10 minutes, and I'm sure I'm over that now, but I can't do justice to all the people in this club that have made up the club as to what it is today. I haven't mentioned the administrators, I haven't mentioned the supporters, and I haven't mentioned the players in the lower grades, but they all contributed to make this club what it is today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. I'm sure everybody will agree that John was not only a fine player, but he's also a very fine speaker. And we'll have now a few moments recess while you refill your glasses and do what you want to do, and then I'll introduce our next guest speaker. Having not met our second speaker, I feel that reading a letter we received from him a short time ago a most appropriate way of introducing him. And the letter goes, "Dear Brian, thank you for your note concerning the Centennial celebrations. I'm quite flattered that you want me to be a guest speaker. However, I doubt if 5 or 10 minutes would be enough. During my illustrious years with the Green Island Club from 1953 to 1962, I scored 3 tries. One was in 1955 on the South Dunedin Oval. The second was in 1958 at the pavilion end of Miller Park, and the third was in 1960 at the top end of the same ground. Playing conditions, strength of opposition, number of players involved in the movements, congratulations and drinks afterwards for each of these momentous events will surely take the better part of an evening. I would not be so bold as to say that these 3 achievements had any significant developments in the growth of the Green Island Club or the district in particular, but certainly they should not be dismissed by some casual passing reference. Please rethink your program. Looking forward to seeing you in June. Regards to everyone. Signed, Jim Snakefoot Fagan."
And on the bus back, as you can appreciate, you're having a couple of sherbets, and someone said, let's not go to work tomorrow, let's go on a grand tour of Central Otago. And I said, that's a great idea. And Morton Poppery said, that's a marvellous idea. and Ronnie Ogle, a great big Irish fella, who thought anything was a great idea, said, yes, I'll be a nut, he says, I'll be a nut. And Keith Adams said, I'm sick of bloody plastering. Yeah, that's a great idea. So And we met at the Royal Hotel at 9 o'clock. And I'll be honest with you, it was my intention just to meet them and go to work and start at 10 o'clock. But you can appreciate, you know, everyone is absolutely full of booze after the weekend. And the first couple of drinks sparked everybody off, and we said, right, we're off. Central, here we come, piled in the car, and got as far as Outram. And we had a few drinks in Outram, played snooker and things, and someone said, let's go to Mosgiel. And we went to Mosgiel, and I recall hanging from drain pipes and things, and doing Tarzan calls, which I'm very good at. And we decided that it was getting too dark to drive, so we'd go back to town. And on the way back to town, someone said, Keith Stewart's got some home brew. So we went up to Keith Stewart's place, and memory's a bit hazy, but I clearly recall a very angry Keith Stewart. Get those drunks out of here, he said. I don't want to see those drunks in here because we said we didn't like his home brew. And we went to town and we stayed at I'd forgotten the name of the hotel, but it seems it was a captain, the Robbie Burns. And we had a few drinks there. And sometime during the night, the police raided the hotel. And the owner said, upstairs to the bedrooms. We piled into the beds, fully clothed. And the police came up and came into my bedroom and hauled back the clothes, and I got up and stood there, you know, I was caught. And Jimmy Reeve, is he here tonight? Jim Reeve here tonight? Jim Reeve was absolutely pissed. He was so drunk, and he was lying like this. And I will never, ever forget this, gentlemen. I will never ever forget this walloper shaking Jimmy Reeve by the shoulders like this. Shaking Jimmy Reeve with the shoulders like this. And Jimmy Reeve opening up and seeing this great, big, heavy red face with a hat staring down at him. Wake up, son. And this look of fear, real fear. And he just went, and he closed his eyes and went back again. It was an evil dream as far as he was concerned. Also, I don't want anyone to... I heard tonight someone say that this club started 25 years ago. And I heard tonight a very fine account of what happened from 1962 onwards. Life didn't start for this club 25 years ago. Life started for this club 100 years ago, and as far as I'm concerned, it really started in the early 50s. When I joined the club in the early 50s, that was a time. You know, we really played hard in those days. And in spite of what you think, sure, we were beaten, and it's nice to hear that we eventually did beat Dunedin. But we were beaten a lot. And I remember, and this is how when you come to these things, you don't really want to hear these stories about yourself. It seems it was opening day for the Green Island Club. And Brian St. John, young chap, straight from Teachers College, brand new, fresh to the club, didn't know anyone at all. And he came in, and he's all bright-eyed and cheery-tailed, and I'm sitting there lacing up my boots, and Brian says, hello. He said, I'm Brian St. John. And I said, we don't talk to anybody on opening day. So don't think I was serious. Don't think we didn't play hard in those days. We truly did. We tried very hard. I have a lot of deep affection for this club, and this is one of the reasons why I'm here, because I wanted to see people. I won't go through a long, detailed account of who the coaches were and the games we played and everything else, nor will I tell you about these three tries, although they are worthwhile describing. I do want to say something very quickly about the people that, the coaches particular. I call this club really getting off the ground in 1953 when they had a fantastic fifth grade side, and the coach of that was Sandy Tyree. And that was all they had in that team, because if I said to you they had a third grade side, the third grade side, they would be the first to admit this, although they tried very hard, they were the equivalent of the varsity drinking team. I don't leave the stage. all right. And the coach was Sandy Tyree. They had a fantastic team, they really did. And then in 1954, we moved into fourth grade, and I think it was at that time the club really started to engender a spirit of enthusiasm. They had fantastic workers, but not very many fantastic players. But we did have people like, I recall with deep affection, old Herb Martin. I recall Arthur Berry. Arthur Berry, who had the biggest calves I think I've ever seen in anyone. And when we played the one game, I remember in Carisbrook, in fact the first game we ever played in Carisbrook, and Arthur Berry was there and he kicked some fantastic clearing kicks, even though he was a middle row forward. We had a good team in those days. Arthur Berry was a coach, and he, Herb Martin, Bert Harvey, have I forgotten someone, Morton? Anyone? There's a name. Anyway, these people, and the time they gave to young people like us was really, in my mind, quite significant. I'll never forget that. But I also want to say this. We heard tonight, and it seems the thing to bring up photographs and say these are the players and all the rest of it. In my mind, the team that really set this club alight was the foundation, the senior grade team in 1960. And although they say there was a senior B side, we were playing teams who were first grade sides. We were playing Kaikrai and we were playing Tari. And sure, we were getting hidings, but we had a fantastic team. And for those of you who haven't been around the walls and haven't seen it, the team was Arnold Moore, president, Reeve, McEwen, St John, Adam, Kitto, Nind, and Arthur Berry was coach. Bert Harvey was assistant coach, Ian Brown, Lamb, Williams, Barnes, Ogle, Finley, Potbury, McPherson. Then there was Noel Gibson, Nind, Milburn, Phil McPherson, Noel, myself and McDonnell, and of course the ubiquitous Lindsay Moyle, who never seems to be everywhere. This was the team in my mind that really set Green Island alive. And all of you people, and you senior people tonight, you senior players, and all of you people who have listened to John go through the halcyon years of the 70s, believe they started in the 50s and they continued through to the 60s. And I want to finish in this note. I had the pleasure of being here 5 years ago with a team of Australian under-12 schoolboys. So this was my local junior club, and we brought the kids over. And at that time, you'd had a rather severe landslide, and the club was fairly shaky, and the future of the pavilion was very shaky. And we weren't very sure even if we should come, but the word was, yes, please do come, and we did. And we had a truly wonderful time. And just to give you an idea of how deeply the parents who organized this trip felt about the marvelous time they'd had, when we went back to Sydney, we had a fish night, and we raised $1,000 for this club, and we sent this money over to you, and I know it was very well received. That was done on the basis of the wonderful hospitality and friendship that was extended to us by the Green Island Club at that time. And I know that, in fact, I knew that this would happen, because I remember the Green Island Club, I remember the people, the personalities. I can't go through them all now, but I do want to say that it's been a most wonderful experience for me to be with this club. At this moment, it's the most moving experience to be able to say these things to you. And when I leave on Monday, I know that I'll be poured on the plane. And I thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Well, I'm only sorry we don't have time to have one or two more speakers. I'm sure that there are many people here who have stories and reminiscences, such as John and Jim, but time doesn't permit that, and it would stop you from drinking, and I'm sure you wouldn't like us for that. But we do have one more little thing that we have to do. It's nothing to do with tonight's format, and Mort will, if you'd like to come up and explain, please, or yes, that's the best one. Explain what's about to happen.
Whoa. Don't like it, Mort.
Settle down, you young ones, senior players and others. Very nice to have you all here tonight. I have a very important thing to do tonight. The wife is at home. Oh, hell, that's bright, isn't it? I'm not a talker like John nor Jim. John always did very well. He was very good with his elocution. Jim always just talked on and off the field. Never got him nowhere, but the thing is this. We have here tonight 100 years of rugby behind us, and I think it is very synonymous, would that be the word? That it coincides with our evening here tonight that I can ask you to listen in for a gentleman who has done perhaps more for this club than anyone else here tonight. And I name here Mr. Bert Harvey. I do not have to go back through the record books or anything to tell you that Bert Harvey was president of this club when he was 28 years of age. He played for the seniors till he was 37, I think. Am I correct, Bert? And I don't know why he knocked off, actually, but it must have been to take up coaching. But Bert, not only to this club, but to rugby in Green Island, in Otago, in New Zealand, his name is linked with rugby. And the point I'm getting to is tonight is Bert's 60th birthday. And I think it is very appropriate that we're all gathered here today, the chaps you played with, Bert, the people you know from sister clubs, the young ones you've helped with their rugby, and your supporters. And could I ask you to come up, Bert, please, and have a slab of cake, Bert. It reads, "Happy birthday, Bert," and Bert is here to greet you with his usual smile. Congratulations, Bert.
I would have to just make a small apology to those who have not been around the club for the last couple of years. I have a small voice problem, as you would probably pick up, providing you're reasonably perceptive. It's a great feeling just to be here amongst Green Island. That's the guts of the whole weekend, the old green and golds. I'll be having a few words to say here on Sunday evening, so I won't steal the thunder of John and Jim by outdoing them this evening.
You're not one-eyed, Bert.
I would merely thank you very much for the kind sentiments expressed, and perhaps enlarge on that later on over the weekend. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
We'd just like to take a little bit of your time for the formal part of this evening. There's 2 trophies here to be duly presented, and I'd ask our Chairman of Committees, Mr. Morton Pottery, to come forward.
Thank you very much, Gordon. I'd welcome everyone here tonight, especially our guest opposition teams for the day, the players from Brighton and their supporters, and those also from Tyree. And it's extremely gratifying to see such a sea of faces around us with this our centennial year, with the celebrations, a lot of them being concentrated on this weekend, shall we say. We have a function on tonight, as you all know, which commences at 8 o'clock, which you can attend only if you have a ticket. So therefore it is closed at this stage, so ticket holders only will be allowed in. The bar, unfortunately, we will have to shut a wee bit earlier to allow the cleaning up and prepare things for the night. So 6:30 the bar will be shutting, but I'd say quite a few of you will be pleased to see it shut anyhow. Now we have, firstly, our President, Mr. Bill Williams. I would ask him to say a few words to you. Bill, please.
Thank you very much, Mort. First of all, Mrs. Bizette and family, Bert Harvey and family, ladies and gentlemen, visiting clubs, especially the clubs from Tyree and Brighton, with which Green Island have had a very long but happy competitive association with, I welcome you all here tonight. I congratulate Green Island on winning both the Bizette and the Harvey Memorial. These two, thank you chaps, and what's more, I think anyone that follows Green Island, especially myself anyway, I don't think I'll take much more of that or I'll be looking for Dick Bunton. These two trophies are keenly sought, and the rivalry that is involved between these two clubs indicates the special meaning that both these trophies have to both of our clubs. The Harvey Memorial is in memory of a Mr. Bill Harvey, the elder of three brothers of the Harvey family, who was lost over Germany in 1944. Bert and Bob Harvey put forward this trophy in 1947, and since then it has been played for every year, even though at times both clubs have been scratching for players. In fact, during that time the Brighton club even had to make up a team, and that was the only game they had in that particular year, so it does show the keenness to play this game. This trophy has always been a hard-fought trophy in the grade that it has been played, and it has always attracted good crowds and good support. And probably for most of us in both clubs, at some stage in our career we have played for that trophy, and therefore it's personal to all of us. The Bizette Memorial, it was donated by the DMBA in memory of a Mr. Ted Bizette, who was our club patron for many years, excuse me, and a respected member of the Green Island community. All Ted's boys have played for this club at some time, and the family still support the club with the same enthusiasm that Ted engendered. This trophy was first played for in 1973, and it invokes a special kind of competitive spirit between the senior sides of both Tyree and Green Island. All I would like to say now is to wish both Tyree and Brighton a very luck in their future, and thank them very much for the games that they gave us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bill. Without any further ado, could I kindly ask the Brighton captain, Alan Watton, and the Green Island captain, Terry Foster, if they would come forward, please. And I would like to ask Mr. Bert Harvey, who was 60 yesterday. We covered that one last night, but we'll go on for a day or two yet, Bert. If he could kindly come forward, and I think it very appropriate that we have him here to pass over the trophy. Thank you very much. Here we are, Bert. Bert.
Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to take part in this presentation of the trophy. Over the years, I think this trophy has indeed engendered quite a reasonable spirit of rivalry between Green Island and Brighton. And I do feel it's been beneficial to both clubs. I can recall some of the earlier games for this trophy, and they were quite hilarious. Not the games themselves, but perhaps the subsequent 6, 8 and 12-hour sessions afterwards. I'm quite sure there are with us this evening some people who were involved in those same happenings, and they know exactly what I'm talking about. But I won't hold you any further. It gives me great pleasure, and I mean this very sincerely, to present this trophy to the winning skipper, Terry Foster of Green Island.
Thanks very much, Bert. On behalf of the team, I'd like to thank you. We're very proud to win it, especially in the Centennial year. We felt we won the game 20 minutes burst in the second half. We thought we had your stuff. You come back at us again in the end, but still, that's the way it goes. I'm very proud of the way our team went, and also like to thank Brighton for consenting to play the game on our ground in the Centennial year. Thank you.
Well, thanks very much, Green Island. It's a privilege to be here in the Centennial year and play the Harvey Memorial. It's just a pity we didn't win it. But, you know, you couldn't sort of take it away from them. They were the best team on the day, so I'd just like to congratulate the Green Island team for winning the game. So thanks very much.
Very well covered by the three gentlemen. I thought it was a terrific game too. Now, if we could have Mr. Doug Milburn. And if we could have the senior captains, Ken Bloxham from Tyree and Paul Bennett from Green Island, please. And I would ask Mr. Doug Milburn to present the trophy to the winning captain. Thank you.
Oh, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, firstly, I must congratulate Green Island in the Centennial year. It's been a great occasion today. At half-time today, I thought this cup could change. We haven't had much of a monopoly on the Bizet Memorial, which, as you all know, was in memory of Ted Bizet, who was one of our fellow directors in the DMBA. But the way our boys went today, and the breaks didn't come our way, I hope in the future that Tyree's name will be more prominent on this trophy, which is keenly coveted at this stage. And to the winning captain of Green Island, is he here?
Have we got Ken Bloxham here?
Yeah. Congratulations to you. Your side displayed an excellent second half rush, which sort of nipped it over, but we'll be back again. Congratulations to you on winning this match. Also, perhaps to Ken, I think the boys went very well, and they put up a great performance, and it was a very good encounter. Congratulations, Ken, on the team's effort also.
Be managed to have the visiting captain first, Ken Bloxham.
Mr Chairman, previous speakers, ladies and gentlemen, so on my behalf to thank the Green Island senior side for the game today, and also to congratulate the club on the Centennial and the Centennial celebrations this weekend. Your senior side retained the Bizet Memorial and have done you proud in your Centennial game, and all credit to your team. To our boys, thanks very much. The first half we went out there and you did what I asked for. We never scored points which we were actually after to put more pressure on them. And second half waned a wee bit when Green Island come back into the game and took the game to us, and they were rewarded with points, well scored points. Without any further, I'd just like to congratulate Benny and the Green Island boys for making the top 6 and for retaining the Bizet Memorial, and wish them the best in the second round, and I hope we're going to be there to have a second crack at you. Thanks, Benny. My boys like to be upstanding, and we'll drink a bumper toast to the Green Island Club and the senior side for the weekend and for the future years to come. For...
Paul Bennett.
Thanks very much for that rousing sing-song, Tori. I wish we could sing and sing something back for you, but we're hopeless at singing. Kevin's at my side here. He's yelling out who to thank. I hope I don't miss anyone. I'll try and remember everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank the referee, John Robinson, for today's game. We're always pleased with the referee's performance, particularly this year. We don't chip referees. Secondly, I'd like to thank Europa for the outfits that they've fitted the senior side in this year. I'm sure you'll agree that it makes a different change from jeans and that sort of thing. Thirdly, I'd like to thank Paradise Travel. I don't know whether you saw us today for the tracksuits that they have supplied us for the season. It's a shame that they've arrived so late, but nevertheless you'll get your mileage out of them in the next 8 or 9 games. Who else, Kevin? Oh, that's right. I'd like to also thank very, very much the support from the terrorists that we got today. The fellas were... Well, shut up, Gavin. The fellas actually said that they couldn't hear the line-out calls, the backs couldn't hear the back moves. Perhaps that's why we muffed so many things up, but it was great, and it really gave us a feeling to try and ram the game home. To the actual game, I thought we were a wee bit lucky, really, to come out of it the way we did. We mucked around too much, we muffed too many chances. We can play a lot better than that, I assure you. However, full credit to Tori. In the first half, they completely bustled us off our normal game, and we'll just have to work on that. I'd like to finish with one small little joke that I have for you.
Thanks, Tori, for using the ground on Wednesday night.
Thanks, Mort. I also forgot to thank the Tory Club for the use of their grounds for training last Wednesday night. We never thought we'd get anywhere to train, especially Tory. Playing Tory in our Centennial match was great stuff, and thanks very much for that. It just shows the spirit that exists between the two clubs. I'll carry on with this short, sharp joke. Our fellas have heard it, but the rest of the club probably haven't. It's about this priest who was walking along the footpath one day and he spots this little boy in the gutter, and he's got an eyedropper full of acid, and he's dropping it on these worms, and these worms are shrivelling up and fading away, you see, and the priest comes up to him and he says, "Son, don't do that." And the wee boy looks up at him and says, "Why not?" And he said, "Because it's not nice, son." And he said, "I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you my bottle of holy water if you'll give me your eyedropper full of acid." The little boy looks up at him and says, "What can your bottle of holy water do that my eyedropper full of acid can't do?" And the priest said, "Well, I'll tell you what, son." He said, "The other day I was in the maternity ward of a hospital." He said, "There was a woman about to give birth and I put this bottle of holy water on her stomach and she passed the baby." And the wee boy looks up at him and he says, "So what?" He says, "The other day I put my eyedropper full of acid on a dog's balls and it passed a V8. Thanks very much. I'd just like to finish off and ask the Green Island chaps to charge your glasses, please, and drink a toast to the Tory team and wish them all the best and hope, like hell, that they get in the top 6 here with us. Tory. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Doug. Yes, our seniors have always been very good singers. And the terrace he refers to I would regard as the slopes of Kilimanjaro or the likes. Break your bloody neck. Now we do have our normal Saturday night awards through the grades. Just running through the scoreboard, which we normally do, we have the seniors won. Well done, chaps, 18-11. But the senior reserves got beaten in turn by Tory in a good game, 16-6. The seconds, 13-all draw. The third Blues, as you know, beat Brighton 27-9. The third Whites had a day off. The under-20s went down to a strong varsity blue team, but was certainly not disgraced, 32-19. The under-19s beat Pirates 36-0, and the under-18s went down to Southern 16-7. So all in all, not bad for the weekend. Right, without any further ado, the Player of the Day award. Through the grades, the names handed in are from the seniors, Bruce McElroy. Senior reserves, Brent Elliott. The seconds, Ashley Duncan. The third Blues, Russell Barclay. The under-20s, Barney Miller. The under-19s, Pat Iverson. And the under-18s, Trevor Griffin. Just prior to awarding the $100 travel voucher from Paradise Travel, I would ask the Russell Barclay from the third Blues, who gets the, what is it?
2 bottles of Villa Maria.
2 bottles of Villa Maria, with the thanks of the sponsors. If he could come up, please, Russell. And while you're coming up, if we could have Trevor Griffin from the under-18s, who gets the junior award for the DB bag. If he could come up too, please. We have those 2 up, thank you. Well done, Russell. Have we got Trevor Griffin here? He's fighting his way through 800 bodies. While Trevor is up here, I would ask him to draw the winner from the bag for the Paradise Travel Player of the Day. And it goes to Bruce McElroy from the seniors. If you could come up, Bruce, thank you. Not a bad effort for the day. 2 tries and a $100 travel voucher. Well done, Bruce. Well, that's about all. Enjoy yourself, have a few quiet ales, but I would respect your help in leaving at a sensible hour because we do have a function on tonight. Thank you very much.
Don't forget the souvenirs that are on sale, the ties, Club Centennial ties, they're on sale, $9.95 each at the bar. There's pens and lighters. So there are souvenirs of the Centennial weekend available at the main bar. Please don't leave any gaps in the middle of the table. Please occupy all the seats. No gaps in the middle, please.
Just sit.
Vic, let's have a line.
Of the Centennial celebrations. And it's good to see that everybody is holding up so well. There might have to be a few decarbs tomorrow or the day after, but that's neither here nor there. I think Friday night we were we were entertained by two very fine speakers in John Bizet and Jimmy Fagan. I think that set the tone for the weekend. They're two very good speakers and everybody joined in the mood and the atmosphere. This was, of course, followed by the two very good wins yesterday afternoon when the thirds, under the captaincy of Terry Foster, retained the Harvey Memorial. And the seniors, after giving us all a hell of a fright, managed to keep the Bizet Memorial. And that... And I think that really just set the whole thing up, maybe the icing on the cake, as they say. Then last night, of course, we were entertained by Judy Barnes. I think she's tremendous. But the... Thank you. So up until that time, a lot of people had said that they thought the weekend was quite fantastic. Well, I think we've gone one step better tonight. We have entertainment and a speaker, I think, that are of real high class. So we have spared no expense in this field, and I hope you do enjoy what we're about to present. To start the evening off, I would ask you all to charge your glasses. Stand and charge your glasses, and we'll drink a toast to a very gracious lady, the Queen. Yeah. Everybody have their glass in their hand? I give you Her Majesty the Queen. Now at this point, if I could have your attention please, it gives me very great pleasure to ask the President of the club, Mr. Bill Williams, to present his centennial speech.
Our patron, Mr. Mackey, life members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to our centennial dinner. As we look back over our past 100 years, we find an interesting and varied history, beginning with one team in 1884, of which we have received a newspaper record of their trip to Lawrence. A copy of this is framed and displayed in our pavilion, which I would recommend anybody to read. It's very interesting. We did lose, by the way. Our colours in those days were navy blue, excuse me, were navy blue and green striped jerseys with blue knickerbockers. I thought that was very nice. The next few years of our history are rather clouded, and I frankly would like to keep it that way, actually. But it is known that we amalgamated with Tyree, and we were known as the Tyree Rovers at that time. We reformed as Green Island again in 1892, and at that time the colours of green and gold were adopted. In 1895 saw the club win the second grade banner, probably because of the small community of that time, in those days, and the club stopping and starting several times. We reformed again in 1921, and from there we began to climb to our present level. The club won its way to the senior grade in 1960. With the district growing and the club starting to grow at a very fast rate at that time, with this growth was at that time being very well handled by the administration of the day, and our playing was going from strength to strength. The stage was set, and I feel that we will all remember our first championship in 1973, to be followed by our wins in 1974 and 78. Some of the players of that day are still playing, and certainly most of them are still regular faces around the club. That is what I would call the headlines of our 100 years. But as a club, we have produced many highlights both on and off the field. Some of you will remember when we only had a shed and a cold water tap out there, and that had to suffice until after the 39-45 war, when we shifted into the labour hall. This hall was shared by the soccer club, and there was very much banter and mud-slinging between the two clubs. You remember the pot-belly stove, where you all tried out your culinary skills, and some of the results were very reluctantly eaten. Over the years, the club's smokos, stag nights, and in later years, Bavarian nights must all jog your memories of humorous situations. The Kycra stream, which flows past Miller Park over here, has featured quite a lot in our history. The odd referee has had an unwelcome swim in there over the years, haven't they, Alf? There was the smoko, when Bert Bayliss got lost in the railway yard over here on the way home, finally fell in the stream and realised that if he walked down the stream for long enough, he would get to Burgess Street and finally get home, which he did, and we all know Bert is still fitting well around the island. Alf Telfer, who I always think's a thinker, he travelled home by the stream one day, but Alf chose to do it in style. He went on his push bike. There was a time when the team of the day was also the administrators of the club. And we hear about the preparation for a visit from Mataro, when 5 of them went down to one Friday night to clean up the labour hall. They picked up the 3-gallon wicker basket at the wicker keg at the Royal Hotel as they went past, then set about cleaning up the labour hall and the keg, the latter 3 times. Bob McLean's effort that night was driving his baby Austin back and forth to the commercial to refill it. Whether they won that next day, only Bert Harvey can tell, because he organised it all. We remember that cabaret act by a member of 1 or 2 from the club in a later smoko organised by John Bizette in the top hall. The results of the punch mixed by Jack Clemenger, which we allowed all our women folk to drink at a Bavarian night. Green Island has prided itself on its involvement of our women folk over the years, when a lot of clubs at that stage remained a men's domain. In return, our women have formed a great committee over the years, and have formed a very strong part of the growth and strength of the club. 1 or 2 saw fit to repay the compliment by vigorously supporting the team of the day on the sideline. Now, in the modern day and age, we even have a women's team. I think a thing that I think is very important around the club, and I certainly have noticed this since coming here to live, is the long involvement of several families in the area. We have the Barnes, Bizetts, Harveys, Potbury, Stewarts, Jaffrays, Moyles, McPheelans, I could go on, and many more have helped build this club. Mrs. Bizett must be very proud to sit here tonight knowing that her boys have collectively played over 200 years for this club. At one stage, having 4 boys in the senior team at once, and we all know that family has put their mark on Green Island, more ways than one. Some of these families have now got youngsters in the schoolboys section, so it's quite obvious that these names synonymous with Green Island are to carry on for a long time. The Jaffray family gave us Merv and Lynn, our only All Blacks. Both these men are now involved in a... Yeah, I think that would be more than me. Could I ask Merv and Lynn to stand up, please, because that's the greatest honour we've had, it's both of you. Both these men are still in a coaching capacity, and it's good to see them still involved in the sport. Bert Harvey, of course, one of the stalwarts of Green Island around the place. He, this year, is the president of the Otago Union. He's a life member of this club, and the fact that he is president of the Otago Union is certainly the appropriate position for Bert in our centennial year, and we're very, very honoured for that. Bert, I've known Bert obviously since I came down here, and I suppose the only story that I could really tell about him without upsetting him is quite a few years ago he complained bitterly of a sore stomach, so they decided they better whip him in the hospital and have a look. So I said to June, you know, how's he going to be? And she said, there's no problems at all. When they cut him open, there'll be a green and gold football in there. On the, I don't know if it was right or wrong, was it? On the playing side, of course, we had all our hard cases. Every club has one. 2, 3, 4, you name them, I don't know. And I wouldn't even try to dwell on all the things that happened. I suppose, seeing I've got the floor at the moment, I could tell one wee story that I was actually saw happen, because I did play here at one stage. Quite a few of us were playing up at Zingaree, and at the time we were on defence. We're playing that way, and the ground that went that way. Anyhow, they spun the ball back to John Law. I think he's here tonight. He'll be one of the biggest kickers this club's had for a long time, and he fired one down there. It'll be the biggest kick he's ever had. It was, 80 yards over my head when it went past him. Over everybody's head and way down the paddock it goes, and of course, who catches it but Lindsay Moyle? Who, without any hesitation, turns round, without a hand laid on him, scores under the post. So, this is true. So anyhow... So that was okay, but only those present will see the fight he put up with the referee when he disallowed it. He went on about some rubbish that if you retire 10 metres, you're automatically onside. We were 50 metres down there. On close chatting after to him, I found that we hadn't missed him. We didn't even know where he was. And... on questioning where he was and how on earth he got that far down there, he would just come out of the bushes. He had a bladder complaint or something. But anyway, every club has one. So, and we'll leave it at that. I don't want to sort of upset anybody else. Lindsay can take it. Over the years, our teams have won many trophies and competitions, and I strongly believe now that Green Island name is well cemented into Otago Rugby. We produced a lot of excellent players and that have reached a lot of representative levels of, you know, we've had South Island players, All Blacks, local players, in all different grades. We now have a very strong schoolboy section, which of course enhances the strength of the club, as at some stage or another most lads have played in that section of the club. Our coaching and administration has kept pace all the time, and we now have this magnificent complex that we have here today, and if really, not this one, and I thought you'd be quick enough when I wrote this. I thought that's a silly thing to put down there, but never mind. And of course we've got our solid team of players who go out and do everything right each week. Although during 1979 we suffered the disaster at Abbotsford slip, we retained our club spirit and stayed together, and I think there's not many clubs would have survived that, because we were spread all around town. I can well remember guys saying, you know, coaches or myself or somebody else at the time, and I was on the junior selection then, saying to guys, now look, you've got to go in tomorrow and you find out where you had to go, and you had to race off to Pirates or wherever the team was training. Tell the coach you've arrived, he knows you're coming, and join him with a team. Now, that mightn't sound very much, but, you know, a lot of kids didn't even know the other team or anything, and they did exactly what we asked them to, and this went on for a couple of years. And I think a lot of clubs would have broken down, a lot of players would have drifted to other clubs, but it certainly doesn't happen in Green Island. I suppose you could say, as far as the club was concerned, the slip was a blessing in disguise for us. It now gives us far more area to conduct our activities and play around, doesn't it, Vic? Times have changed, of course, in this modern day and age that we're into now, and the whole scene is completely changing in every sporting activity, whether it be rugby or whatever it is, but our one's rugby, so that's all we're interested in. It's now got to be run by in a very business-like manner, and you've got the introductions now of professional attitudes, sponsors, all coming into the sport. But I strongly believe that Green Island has had the people over the years, and we've certainly got them now, there's no problems there, to react to any changes. And I strongly believe that the stage is now set for our next 100 years. And I'm sure that we all wish the club well for this period. I once again welcome you very, very much to the club. Thank you very much. I wish to take this opportunity now to read the telegrams and messages that we have had sent from absent friends, interested parties, other clubs, etc. I'll just slip through them. We've got the New Zealand Rugby Union. May we take this opportunity of wishing your club the most successful and happy celebration on the weekend. The Sassenachs, please convey to your president and members my personal congratulations and best wishes for a successful function. Green Island Rugby Club, congratulate you on your 100 years of rugby. Best wishes for the future from the Old Boys Rugby Club in Invercargill. Parliament Buildings. You right, Bill? Warmest congratulations and celebration of the club's Centennial. Every good wish for a successful and enjoyable weekend. Brian McDonnell. Congratulations for your first 100 years and best wishes for the years that lie ahead. President and members of the Island Park Golf Club. This comes from New Plymouth. Would you convey our best wishes to the committee for a successful function, and to my old club mates to partake in an ale for me. Please offer a formal apology on behalf of Ham, I think it is, and myself. Regards, Derek Kitto. Ravensbourne Rugby Club. On behalf of the Ravensbourne Rugby Club, we extend our best wishes to Green Island on the occasion of a centennial, and we hope that it will be a memorable occasion for for all involved. Zingaree Rugby Football Club. Our best wishes for a successful centennial celebration. Pirates Football Club, our sincere congratulations for attaining your centennial, and we wish you well for the future. Kaikoura Rugby Football Club. We would, however, like to take this opportunity of wishing you well and your committee of the Green Island Rugby Football Club every success, and extend our best wishes not only for your centennial celebration but the years to come. Otago University Rugby Football Club. We very much appreciate the invitation and hope you will have a most successful weekend. Auckland Rugby Football Club. We note from the New Zealand Rugby Football Union Council minutes at the meeting of the 13th of April that this season sees your club's celebrations. We send down our best wishes for this year and your future years. Number 2RD Ekatahuna. I hope... yeah, Fred Dag, yeah. Bert Bayless. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'm sorry I can't be with you. Brian Lahore. That one there, I'll brush across it. It was for a chap that thought he wasn't going to make it, but he is here, so we won't worry about it. What have we got here? 26 hospital... Oh, I suppose we'll be ignorant not to read it, really. Oh, he might not. Best wishes for the club's centennial, hoping I can make it, Brian Illingworth, but I think Brian is here, actually. Oh, I don't know, we're back to Ekatahuna at the moment. What have we got here? That's my old hometown. 26 Hospital Terrace, Napier. Thank you for the invitation to the Centennial do. I can't make it, unfortunately, but I do wish you all well with the celebration. I'll be thinking of you all. Please accept the enclosed fund as a donation towards the Alka-Seltzer Fund. Iron Brown. Dunedin Rugby Football Club, congratulations on attaining your centennial and the best wishes for a great weekend of celebrations. I purposely left this one till late, not that I'm in any way not appreciate the others, don't get me wrong. Western Union message, well, I'll start again. Western Union message sending blank. To the Green Island Rugby Football Club, Dunedin, New Zealand, from Richard and Linley Bunton. I'll give it all because it's all interesting. 2 Temple Street, Framingham, Massachusetts, United States of America. Congratulations, Green Island, on attaining this milestone in your history. We are both thinking of you all and wish very much that we could be here with you over the weekend. While you are all drinking Spates, the best we can do is Budweiser, which obviously is a beer in America, right? But this will not stop us from joining you with our celebrations at a distance of 10,000 miles. Best wish to you all. Have a great weekend. Kindest regards, Linley and Richard Bunton. Well, having read all those and bored you for 10 minutes or whatever it is, it is now my greatest pleasure to ask you to all charge your glasses and be upstanding, and we'll drink a real good toast to absent friends. And thank you very much. To absent friends. Thank you. That's it, mate. Yes.
It looks as though we have a 5-minute recess. I don't see that in my program. However, we'll continue when these people return to us.
Thank you. Nicely done. Thank you.
We'll carry on. Can't do here, can't do here. Well, I want them ready to go when I'm ready. Thank you, everybody. Little bit of hush, as they say. Thank you. Little bit of hush, please. We'll carry on. This could take all night if we don't have hush. Thank you. Shorty Dow, please sit down. Thank you. Gives me very great pleasure now to ask the Mayor of Green Island, Mr. Vic Crimp, to present his address and propose the next toast. His Worship the Mayor, Mr. Vic Crimp.
Mr. Toastmaster, Mr. President, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the Toastmaster has already intimated to you that at the conclusion of my few minutes there will be a toast. So while I'm speaking, if you would be so kind as to make sure there's something in your glasses. I would like to thank you, Mr. President, and your executive for inviting Dorothy and I to be present with you tonight on this special occasion. And thank you also for the lovely spray which Dorothy is wearing. When I came in tonight, I was asked was I going to tell a story, and I had no intention of doing so, but I was prompted by a lady who is very near and dear to this club. And since your president has made the opening for me to tell such a story, I'm about to tell it. It's about a plumber. I don't know where she is, but she's down here somewhere. I too have received telephone calls at all hours of the day and night, as Dorothy has. But this plumber's wife received this telephone call. She said, I think that fellow stuttered. She said, I have a Scheisenhauer, that's, I think is German for toilet. She said, I have a Scheisenhauer that's not working. She said, I've got one too. She said, what's wrong with it? She said, it's sitting by the fire with the slippers on. Mr. President, this club is now 100 years old. During this time, there must have been many entertaining moments which I'm sure have been well and truly replayed over the last few days. If not, there is always tonight and tomorrow. Most of you know only this building, but there will also be some who remember the stable-type shed perched on the bank of the stream which meandered through the willows, I think somewhere about here, almost where we're now standing. In those days, it was quite a regular practice of the club to have 16 members, 15 on the field, and a dear aunt of mine on the sideline armed with her umbrella. She wielded this umbrella most efficiently, and not only on the opposing team, but there were occasions on the referee. I would just like to recall a more recent innovation of the club. Last year, I was privileged to attend the opening of the new fields up on the top of the hill, and had it not been for the services of the club's doctor, one Dr. Lindsay Moyle, dispensing some internal heating or the elixir of life from that big deep pocket in his great overcoat, I'm quite sure there would have been casualties on the sideline. As mayor of this very fine community of sports-minded people, with a heritage of achievement stretching back several decades, it fills me with a great deal of pride to be associated with this most important milestone in the history of a most illustrious rugby club, which must be proud to number among its members players who have aspired to great heights in our national game. The green and gold has indeed been well and truly written in the history books of rugby football. And while we reflect on this fact, it is also appropriate that those who make up the administrative core of management and work so quietly and diligently behind the scenes, and without whom no club can operate successfully, be congratulated for their efforts over the years. May I therefore extend to the Green Island Rugby Football Club, on behalf of the citizens of our borough, hearty congratulations on having attained 100 years, and may the club continue to go from strength to strength in years to come. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to join you in your celebrations, which I hope will be most successful and enjoyable to all. Now it is my privilege and pleasure to propose a toast to the Green Island Rugby Football Club. Ladies and gentlemen, the club.
See, I told you were just warming to the occasion. It's true. Thank you, Your Worship. I'd now call on our Chairman of Committees, Mr. Morton Potbury, to respond to the toast and propose the next one. Thank you, Morton.
Thank you, Mr. MC, Mr. Gordon Barnes, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I feel very humble and proud to be standing here tonight to, on behalf of you, the members of this club, to accept the toast and words that have been given to you by His Worship the Mayor, Mr. Vic Crimp. Just in passing, you will have ample food later in the night, but if you wish to go for supper to the Dragon Cafe with Vic and I, we're going in at 4:30. I'm serious. And that will be strictly stag. On a more sincere note, I do sincerely think what you have said, Vic. I can call you that, can I, Vic? I believe that we have more comradeship both on and off the field. It's comparable with the best in this province, possibly I'm parochial, but just that wee bit better. Our allegiance with the local borough council has improved considerably over the last decade, shall we say, Vic? And with this in mind, we are moving to greater things, I'm sure. I would suggest now that we are fortunate enough to have the 4 grounds, that they be used appropriately. You must train to win matches, Vic. Therefore, with that in mind, I would suggest at a minimal cost of perhaps 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, roughly August, September, this money be spent on them being rugby grounds only. You do them up for the following season. Pleasingly, I see Vic taking a couple of notes.
Very good, son.
You're all keen to eat, I know, so I won't drag on, but I have a very important toast to propose. Firstly, to the Otago Rugby Football Union, of which we are very, very proud to have our own Bert Harvey president this year. They are the controlling body of rugby in this province. At times you may think they're doing wrong, at times you may back them, but without them we would not be here. You must have the controlling bodies, and we are very fortunate indeed to have the likes of Bert and also Neil Childs and Bill Auld involved at that level. We're very, very fortunate. To sister clubs, and I'm very, very pleased to see them well represented here tonight. I can look down in front here and see Alan Mills having a couple of peanuts and a wine. We've got most clubs represented, and our links with them over the years have been extremely good. And if we can do nothing else, I'll guarantee we'll last out of your club rooms every time we go there. And of course, what it's all about is rugby, and from there you have your referees and St John's Ambulance. To the referees, we're fortunate enough to have Mr Graham Renton and his wife here tonight. I thank them on behalf of the club for attending. I know we will sew them up. We are very quick, all of us, to rubbish players when they do things wrong. We're also equally quick to rubbish referees and make them the scapegoat. But you must have referees, and they do a terrific job, make no mistake. And I thank you very much. Likewise with the St John's Ambulance, a voluntary organisation, what would we do without them? and I thank them very much for their efforts. And there is one small note here which has been passed on to me since our President spoke, and I think it very, very appropriate. A note from Mrs. Margaret Hellier, wife of Bert Hellier, who passed away so tragically in recent times, and I think it very appropriate. A man amongst men, there was no one ever disliked Bert. He could mix in any company, a great rugby man, and I would ask you to give Bert just a wee bit of thought tonight. If we could just have perhaps 15 seconds silence on behalf of Bert. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And now, the way Bert would like it, I would ask you to charge your glasses and we would drink a bumper toast to the ORFU, sister clubs, referees and the St John's Ambulance, and I haven't got a glass. To those four bodies, drink up. Thank you very much.
Well done. Thank you. Well done.
No cider. No cider back.
Well done. You should have the chain on.
Thank you, Morton. I see our special guest for this evening, excuse me, our special guest for this evening has just arrived, and I'd like to welcome him to join us for dinner, Mr. Max Walker. Thank you. Now, if we just get settled, please, I'd like to carry on. We don't want to prolong tonight. It gives me very great pleasure, or gives the club and the organising committee very great pleasure to ask Mr. Bert Harvey, President of the Otago Rugby Football Union, to respond to the toast just proposed. Mr. Bert Harvey.
Not quite as big as some of these other fellas, so I've got to bring it down to my level. But this would be quite unique in my experience as an administrator of rugby, in that I've got a speech to make for which I have made no notes. In the 100 years of this club, I've been part of it for about half of that, so I think I'll delve on those memories without worrying too much about writing down the wee bits and pieces. I perhaps start, someone made mention earlier, or it may even have been yesterday, about the Gazettes and the Barneses and their contribution to our club. Now, I recall out at Tahuna Park one day running into an elderly gentleman called Sam Wells, who was the grandfather of those same Gazettes and Barneses, and someone, I think it was Ray Marshall from Dunedin Club said, "Sam, what the hell are you doing out here on a cold day?" He says, "Where would you be if you had 7 grandsons playing for the seniors?" And that was Sam Phelps. Now that's the sort of thing that this Green Island Club is all about. It's all guts and go, and I love it. This may not be the average, the response from a provincial administrator, but on this occasion I'm slightly one-eyed. I would perhaps only, or quite some substantial time I have spent involved in rugby administration at the provincial level, and I would perhaps go back to one of the most bitter arguments I ever had in my life regarding rugby. I was 2 years it took me to really impress on Eric Watson that Mervyn Jeffrey was the best number 8 in a takeover. And something like 104 times later, Ori's province of Watson came to me and said, "You might have been bloody right." I could go on here for hours, but I'm quite sure that you people don't want to listen to me all night. So at this juncture, I must tell you a story. Some years ago, we'd had a rather successful foray into Dunedin. I think we'd wrapped up Sutherland, presented Pirates with a second-grade banner, and we finished up at Dowling Street, the old Irish club rooms. It was quite a carry-on, a bit of a leer-up. I think, from memory, Ray McPhillan had a party organised that night, and there was, I think, people like Smeaton and Bacon and Finlay and Harvey and one or two. Yeah, so we moved out from Pirates, and of course the first place we arrived at was Fagan's, and of course Bob Jim's having a shave, at Sadie, Jim's lovely mother, had cooked about 5 lamb cutlets for his tea. Of course, while he's having his shave, Smeaton moved in on the cut. So, of course, the obvious, no cutlets, the one shave, and on the way round, the next stop was our place. Of course, in those days, June always had a pot of stew at the back of the range, because it didn't matter what time I arrived home, tea was ready. second stop, I go down to the bathroom, have a shave, a bit of time. I get back in here. Smeaton's been into the bloody shit. So he gave that a decent burst. So then we carry on up to, I think it was Muir Street. And Doris sent me at two beautiful bookshops laid out for Martin's tea. And you picked it at Smeaton. Yeah, both of them. But these the sort of things that the rugby is all about. As I said, I could carry on for hours, but I won't bore you. I would, at this stage, on behalf of the referees, the media, the Johns, and the Tiger Rugby Union, thank you very sincerely.
I'm sure you'd all agree, with men like Bert Harvey around, this club has got a very rich history to record in years to come. It's a great game, isn't it, this rugby? Now, if we can get Keith organised, we'll have the Centennial cake in. The Centennial cake will be brought in, and Mr.